Welcome to episode 273 of Angela Watson's Truth for Teachers. I'm your host, Angela Watson, and I'm here to speak encouragement into the hearts of educators and get you informed and energized for the week ahead. Today, I'm talking about the power of asking better questions. Visit truthforteachers.com to get an easy-to-read, easy-to-share version of this podcast episode. There's been lots of chatter about artificial intelligence in the education community recently, and lots of legitimate concerns. Personally, I'm intrigued about how ChatGPT can make teachers' lives easier. I've created a free 12-page reference guide to help you start using ChatGPT to save time as a teacher. Inside, you'll find step-by-step explanations and specific, practical ideas to help you understand what is ChatGPT? What can it be used for? How can you get started and get the best results with ChatGPT? And specific prompts that teachers are using with ChatGPT to save time in lesson planning, instructional delivery, grading, and more. Each recommendation shared is one that has been tested by our Truth for Teachers team and/or by practicing classroom teachers, so we know it works. Go to truthforteachers.com/ChatGPT to download the free time-saving guide. That's truthforteachers.com/ChatGPT. Today's episode is about the power of asking better questions. And that's been on my mind lately with all of the changes and challenges happening in schools and just in the world in general. But the good news is you can coach yourself through things that leave you feeling frustrated and confused. When it feels like there are no good answers, that's often a sign that we're not asking useful questions. If we can frame our thinking with better questions, we can uncover better answers. Let's start with student-focused examples. One of my favorite questions to ask kids who are off task is, what should you be doing right now? This is a helpful question that you can train yourself to ask rather than, what are you doing? Or why are you doing that? It's so funny how questions like that fly out of our mouths when we're bewildered or annoyed because there is no good answer. When you say, what are you doing? Or why are you doing that? And a student tries to answer, we're not going to like what they say anyway. Why are you talking? Why are you pushing him? Why are you out of your seat? These are generally not sincere questions. Now, this isn't always true. If there's a reply that you would accept as valid, then that's a sincere question. But often when we say these things, we don't believe there is any good reason for the student's behavior, and we don't really want to hear the explanation. And when that's the case, we'll get better results from asking a better question. What should you be doing right now? Prompts the student to think about their choices, and also think about the instructions or the task that you've given. Typically, students will self-correct when they're asked this question. So they won't say anything, they'll just kind of get back on task. Or they may give you an answer that shows they understand the directions, like, I should be finishing the assignment. You can then just nod, and that's the end of it. Or say, do you need help getting started? Is there anything you're stuck on if you feel like the student needs a little bit more guidance? Occasionally, kids will reply to, what should you be doing right now? With working, but I have to do ABC first, or writing, but I need to do XYZ. I like these kinds of responses because they bridge the gap between what I need the child to do and what the child feels they need to do. It gives some insight into what's distracting the student or causing them to make choices that aren't aligned with my expectations. So I can then say, okay, that's fine, or well, can you do that after doing this assignment? Or enter some kind of discussion that will get us both on the same page. So consider how asking better questions of your students can get you better results. Instead of asking a kindergartner, why is your coat on the floor? You could ask, where should your coat be? Instead of asking a middle schooler, why aren't you on the right page of the website? What are you looking at? You could ask, what page should you be on? Ask questions that prompt kids to think about their choices and the expectations, instead of questions that have no good answers and just frustrate us when kids aren't able to respond. The power of asking better questions extends far beyond just your conversations with students. Consider also your thoughts in conversations about students. Why is that kid doing that? Versus, What need is that behavior meeting? Why are they wearing that? Versus, what message or marker of identity are they trying to express through that look? You can apply this concept to things that annoy or confuse you about your colleagues, about students' families, and about administrators. For example, why do they think I can just drop everything last minute and run to a meeting? Versus, how can we change our system so that meetings are planned in advance? Obviously, that's not an easy question to answer, but it is a powerful one. It prompts you to think through why last-minute meetings keep happening and what might be done to prevent that proactively. What am I supposed to say to that in response to an accusatory parent email could become, what is the root concern this parent has, and how can I allay that fear? You're now primed to stop focusing on the nitpicky stuff that's annoyed you and find the heart of the matter. How am I supposed to get my work done when people keep interrupting me? Can become, how can I communicate my needs and set boundaries so I'm not interrupted? Or how can I change my work routine so that I'm in a place where I'll have fewer interruptions? So those are just a few examples of the power of asking better questions to and about other people. But I think the most exciting use of asking better questions comes when asking questions of ourselves about ourselves. You can learn so much about your own needs and feelings and thought processes when you ask yourself good questions. Here are some examples to consider. Why am I so bad at this? Versus, what might help me adjust my expectations so I'm not so hard on myself? How can I possibly let this go? Versus, what does it cost me to hang on? And what would I gain by releasing it? Why even bother doing this? Versus, what benefits can I or other people expect from this? I have 3 favorite questions that I ask myself a lot that have been so useful to me. I'll share them with you now. The first one is, what's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? So what should I focus on or where should I start can become this question. What's the one thing I can do that such by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? That's a question that was created by Gary Keller in his book, The One Thing. It can help us uncover lots of great answers related to productivity and overwhelm. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? So for example, if you've got a seemingly endless amount of papers to grade, find the one thing you can do that will make the rest of the papers feel easier or maybe unnecessary. So that might be grading the test to see what kids knew at the end of the unit, thereby making grading the previous day's practice assignment unnecessary. Or maybe it's getting the long essay set out of the way so that you're left with the easier, faster things to grade. If you have a ton of emails to clear out and you don't know where to start, find the one thing that you can do that makes everything else feel easier or even become unnecessary. I like to select all the emails that are clearly junk or unnecessary for me to read, based on the sender and the subject line, and I clear those out first. Immediately now, my inbox has a ton of clutter emptied out, and it's much easier to focus on the rest. Then I can ask the question again, what's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? And that might be to look at the emails that probably don't require a response and clear them from my inbox by sorting them into folders. This will leave me with only the emails that require a thoughtful response or an action, which I can either do right away or put into a to-do folder so that they're not just cluttering up my inbox and weighing on me every single time I check my email. I'm not saying that this particular process will be right for you. I'm just giving an example of how asking a powerful question about one thing I can do that makes everything else easier or unnecessary has become something that I've internalized. I don't go through email haphazardly anymore or respond to messages one by one as they come in. When I sit down to go through my email, I look for approaches that help me make the job easier. Another powerful question that's been really useful for me in lots of different situations is, what would it look like if it were easy? You've probably heard me say this before because it's something I've been coming back to for years since I first heard it on Amy Porterfield's podcast. It is a wonderful question to ask whenever you're overcomplicating a task or you can't figure out where to begin, or you can't get motivated to do what you need to do. So, cleaning the house, what would it look like if it were easy? Well, I'd pick up the stuff that's right here within my eyesight, so there's not so much clutter around. Just make a dent. Planning this unit, what would it look like if it were easy? Well, I'd probably start by creating a broad outline of what I'll do and then fill in the details afterward. Can you see how the power of this question is that it helps you find the easy inroad to getting started? It also dials down your expectations. It helps you find a possible outcome that is not overwhelming or impossible. And a final question that I absolutely love is this: what else might be true, and how can I learn more? This is a question I use when I'm annoyed about a situation or confused about it. I'll use it sometimes when I'm offended by something or hearing something controversial that I disagree with and I'm convinced that I'm right. I find myself in all of these situations pretty regularly, so this is a question that I ask myself a lot. What else might be true, and how can I learn more? Let's see what this might look like for your situation. Maybe you're thinking, this parent didn't show up for our conference. Why don't families these days care about their kids' education? That's a really loaded question. It doesn't really point us in any helpful direction, right? But if we ask, what else might be true? And how can I learn more? Well, that opens us up to other possibilities. Could there be a different reason the parent was a no-show other than them just not caring about my time or not caring about their child's education? What could I do to get more insight as to what's happening and how to get on the same page as this parent? That's what's opened up to me. That's the way now I'm primed to think when I ask what else might be true and how I can learn more. The possibilities for this question are endless. They will help you uncover cognitive bias that you might otherwise be unaware of. So here's some examples. The opinion piece that I read online makes some pretty outrageous claims. What else might be true? And how can I learn more? My friend is claiming that they were wronged by one of my other friends. What else might be true? And how can I learn more? My partner has a harmless habit, but I find it really annoying, and it makes no sense to me. What else might be true? And how can I learn more? This student keeps falling asleep in class, but says everything's fine. What else might be true? And how can I learn more? This question can also help you refrain from jumping to conclusions or assuming the worst. Try asking yourself what else might be true when you assume that the rattle in your car's engine must mean an expensive repair, or a summons to the principal's office must mean you did something wrong. What else might be true? And how might you learn more? Curiosity over judgment. Wondering over assumptions. These are always safer, softer places to land. There are so many ways you can use better questions to shift your emotional state, to focus on what's most important, and to help you problem solve constructively. Your takeaway truth for the week ahead is this: if you want better answers, ask better questions. Find a framing for the things you're confused about, which can help lead you to the solutions you need. You don't have to have all the right answers, but having some great questions will get you headed down a more productive path. You can do this. And remember, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be worth it.